we go into the ward. The ward that a lot of people didn't know, apart from being staging shows and the pantomime, the ward was also a movie theater, especially on the weekends. I in fact saw a double bill at the ward, which was Student Prince and Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. So the ward used to show movies on the weekend. I don't know if it's to earn extra income or what, but you know, when they had the pantomime ran for like 5 months and then it stopped. So the ward wouldn't make any money on the rest of the year unless a one thing like the Cuban ballet or something came. So I think somebody made a decision to have movies at the ward in the off-peak times, you know? Did you ever hear that?
Yes, I know of that. I had asked Larry about it, and Larry says that he don't remember the ward showing any movies. But I remember as a youngster going with my dad to the ward to see a movie and stuff. And in fact,
right.
I worked on a movie called Popcorn down at the ward. They shot that movie inside of
oh yeah, inside the ward, yes.
Right.
So the other thing, the other place now that used to, all right, so other productions like Bim and Bam used to also be at the ward. But Bim and Bam also took their plays to other places. And one of the other places that took it to was the Ritz, which was on Maxwell Avenue. In fact, I went to the Ritz to see Bim and Bam, the case of the bald-head rooster. So that also a fact that the places would show movies, but they would show the plays as well. Inside the ward, exciting. If you were doing a production. I started my career at the ward. Not really started because I had been in Adult Drama Festival before. But I got my start in pantomime at the ward in 1967. And that was an exciting time. The ward could hold, I think I heard, up to 1,000 people. And on an opening night, and certainly on opening night, and not opening nights, but like opening month, that ward would be full right up to where they call the Gods, which was in the 3rd level of the ward. Because the ward had 3 levels.
The 4 rows.
Huh?
4 rows.
4 rows, yes, or the Gods. There were people who come to Forus every night, you know, and they knew the lines of the play. So when you're performing and you want to hit your big line, somebody ball it out from Forus before. Look, you know? So that was it. And we would perform at the Little Theatre. The Little Theatre never show movies, but the Little Theatre had performances in the early days, quite a lot, right across the spectrum, from plays to dance to everything. The Little Theatre was always going. Back to cinemas now. So you had cinemas also had drive-ins, and you had 2 drive-ins. you had the Boulevard driving, and you had the Harborview driving. And they were always full, especially with families, because you could just pile up in a car, and 5, 6 of you pile up in a car, and you're off to the driving. And it was great fun, you know. But you would also have the people who were not supposed to be dating other people, who would also go to the drive-in so that they could be anonymous. The addition now is the Courtly Auditorium. And that used to show movies, but I don't think it was successful commercially. So it started to present shows. And recently, I noticed that people are doing plays at the Courtly. So you have Ambassador are going down now Spanish Town Road to Tivoli, otherwise called Queens. Majestic. Then you go downtown and you have the Ward. Coming along Windward Road, you have the Gaiety. The Palace. Then Harborview driving if you're going further out. And coming up to Crossroads, you have the Carib, the Regal, the State, the Tropical, the Odeon in Halfway Tree. Odeon was up, upstairs was covered, downstairs was open. So and if you rain fall, Odeon, you're dead. Because rain are going to wet you up the stairs. You have to carry your umbrella if you sat in the open air, right? But in the upstairs would be covered, right? But it could, if it was cold, you would also feel exceptionally cold. The Premier Theatre, the Ritz, which was down on Maxfield, New Kingston Driving, yes, and Boulevard Driving. Oh, the Regal was lovely, lovely, lovely. Seating was nice, air conditioned, wonderful, and also, the thing I remember seeing at the Regal that made my day was the fight between Muhammad Ali and Sonny Liston, which was carried right at the Regal, carried live at the Regal. So we see when Muhammad Ali threw Sonny Liston to the ground and became the first young boxer to be the world heavyweight champ. Covered cinema, man. Beautifully done. It was a covered cinema, yes. The open air was like Odeon and Tropical and Ambassador and so on. Those were open. But covered, Regal was covered, Carib was covered. The Ambassador was a beautifully constructed theatre, right in the middle of Trench Town. A lot of people used to go there. It would show all the karate movie and the cowboy movie and all of that. So you had people crowding the theater to watch all of that, right? And people wouldn't get up out of their seat, because if you get up out of your seat, you're not get it back. So if you really wanted to do a thing, you have to do it right there upon the ground. And having done your thing, you ball, everybody ball out snake. And when you ball out snake, you just lift up your foot so you don't get caught by what is running down. Did you ever hear that story?
I've heard that story.
Yeah, man. You know, I get up at all because somebody will take a seat.
And the Ambassador was a large theatre. It was a large theatre.
Oh, large. Very large theatre. Very large. It was fondly called Bass.
What was it like to go to the Tivoli, the Queens? Because Tivoli, it was the first.
I had never been to Tivoli. My mother certainly had gone, and in her day, but I never went to the Tivoli. I heard about the Tivoli from my mother.
And it was, the name was changed to the Queens.
The Queens, yes.
Right. So what about the Majestic now? What was it like to go to the Majestic? The Majestic was
never went to the Majestic either, but I heard it was quite an experience to go to the Majestic. Because the Majestic was a lovely theatre.
What was it like inside? It was an open air theatre?
I'm not sure. And as I said, most of what I know of the Majestic and the Tivoli is what I knew from my mother. I never went to those. By the time I had grown up, those were not kind of the theaters you went to, you know? The Palace was nice, and as I say, it was where people went to the Virgin's hour, but they also showed nice movies, and it was the headquarters, if you know, of the Palace Amusement, who owned the Carib.
What was the Virgin's hour? Tell me about that.
Virgin's hour was it's like a show where people go and you would go and showcase your talent. For instance, Mr. Coverley, Eric Coverley, was a man who was called Chalk Talk Coverley. He could do drawings on the board, you know, saying, oh, and let us do this and let us do that. Let us do something here. And when it was finished, it was either a man or somebody doing something. So it was one clever act. And that was on the Virgin's hour. You'd go, it's kind of a showcase of talent.
Tell me about the Ward Theatre. What was it like inside the Ward Theatre? What was it like?
Absolutely fantastic. The sound was excellent. You had everything. You had everything for a performance of class. You had the backdrops. You had everything. Everything was there. In fact, let me tell you a story about the Ward. I was doing a show at the Ward it was a Sunday musical. And the stage hands were supposed to open the trap door to send up smoke on stage, right? But I think they just was a little too early, and they opened the trap door, and I'm skipping across the stage, and the trap door fell open, and I fell straight through the trap door onto the about, it must have been about 6 feet down. It was, I think I was free fall. I think I kind of free fall because it was just so sudden going through this door. I actually fell on my 2 feet.
Wow.
And that was one of the most memorable things that happened to me at the ward. But built much Canning Theatre for performances, and it had everything, you know?
Tell me about the ward in terms of seating and all of that.
Okay, you had 3 levels. You had the orchestra, which was down. The first level of seating is the orchestra. Second level of seating was the dress circle. In the dress circle was the governor's box that was used for seating extremely special guests of the theatre. And then you go up to what is called foul roost, or in theatrical language, the gods. And up there, you would have the cheapest seats, right? It is way up on the top, 3 levels up. It was outside, you had the bars and so on. Bars of the dress circle, the bars and the orchestra. It was more or less, the dressing rooms were large. They were shared by many people in chorus or lesser parts. The downstairs would house the stars. Downstairs dressing rooms would hold the stars of the show. So they wouldn't have to go up the stairs. The stars usually were downstairs. So basically, and you entered from Love Lane.
What was the audience in the foul roost? What would they like?
Oh Lord, raucous and nice and welcoming and clapping and being themselves. I always like the foul roost people.
What would they do?
Clap and sing with you and bawl out the lines and all that. Some of them would come out 10 times, 10 times to the show. Because it wasn't expensive to go up there. So they would come out 10 times and sit up there. And it was mostly the people from around the area that would come. Carib was lovely. You know, of course, I told you about the Carib Waltz. That was played before the national anthem.
What kind of feelings did it evoke in you as a moviegoer?
Oh Lord, man, wonderfully, like a dancing. It's a waltz like a dancing. Carib was fully covered. And a lot of shows used to come there apart from the movie. Like I saw Dionne Warwick, Nancy Wilson, Ain't Misbehaving. All of them shows came there and performed on stage of the Carib.
What was it like going to the Carib to see a movie? back in the day.
Lovely, lovely, nice and cool, and the seats were nice and padded. Very lovely, very lovely. And if you had upstairs box and downstairs, and it was really nice. It was really, really nice to go to the carriage. The harder they come had some of my friends in it. Some of my people I had played with in it, like Valerie Johnson and Janet Barkley. Those were two people I had played with on stage. So it was very exciting seeing them in the movie itself, right? But the premiere was something most exciting because it's the first time we had a Jamaican movie being premiered. Tropical was open air. Upstairs was covered, but Tropical was open air. And they also had plays there, right? I tell you, when I was 14, I came to Kingston and my aunt took me to a play at the Tropical. The play was called Miss Unusual, and it had Leonie Forbes, Lloyd Record, and Mrs. Lola Parkinson as the players. Funnily enough, when I became older and went into the theater, I played with all three people. Never knew I would do that when I was 14 years old.
Well, Pauline, I know I chatted you much today, right? And thank you so very much. This little chat.
I'm so grateful to the Bubbles.